time. There's not enough time to do what I want to do. There's not enough hours in the day. I am always too busy. I have no time for myself. Time, time, time. You hear this all the time, that people are stating that they don't have enough time to do what they want to do, that they didn't get something done because they ran out of time, or if only they had the time to do the things they would like to do, or how they could be much more efficient if they had more time. There is enough time in the day. The day has 24 hours. Now, let's take a look at that. 24 hours, if you get a good night's sleep, that takes up probably 7 to 8 hours of your time. Okay? So 24 hours minus 8, that leaves us 16 hours in the day to do what we need to do. Now, let's talk about things like getting dressed in the morning, having lunch, having brekkie, having dinner, all of those things. Well, really, how long do those things take? Well, that's up to the individual, isn't it? But let's say that takes an hour for each one of those things. So getting up in the morning, getting yourself ready for the day, having something to eat in the morning, having lunch, having dinner. Let's give each one of those an hour. So that's 4 hours. That means 4 from 16 leaves us 12 hours or half a day to get done everything we need to get done. Well, that's a lot of time. And you can get a lot of things done in that time. But here's the kicker. We waste a lot of time. And you can be very efficient about that. I value my time and I get things done. One thing you've never heard come out of my mouth, or anybody that knows me has ever heard come out of my mouth, is that I don't have enough time to get something done. I always have time. But why? Well, I have some tricks. First of all, I'm a list maker. I've said this before. I make a list. First thing I do in the morning after I've gotten up, done what you need to do to get yourself prepared for the day, is I come downstairs, turn on my computer, and I check my calendar for the day. These are the things that I list that have to be done. They could be appointments or other events that really I have to build into my overall schedule. Then I make a list. I have a little sticky notepad, and here's my list. It says today's notes. Now, I've done various iterations of this kind of list. I've created ones on my computer. I've made preformed templates for this, but I find the easiest thing to do is just take 5 minutes at the beginning of my day and take this sticky notepad with lines and just list all the things that I want to accomplish in the day. And I build into that list those things that I have to do that have a time sensitive scheduling to them, like a dentist appointment or someplace I have to go or something like that. Okay. And then I have this list of all the things that I want to accomplish. Then I prioritize the list. The things that are coming up and they're time sensitive, I circle. Just as a reminder to myself that at 2 o'clock you have a hair appointment, so don't forget to do that. Then I look down the list and I decide what I'm going to do first, what I'm going to do second. Now, I like to get the jobs that I don't want to really do done first. Get them out of the way so they're not hanging over your head. Because I find if you've got something you need to do and it's hanging over your head, that the best approach is to get it out of your way, because otherwise you spend the whole day procrastinating, and that is wasted time before you get that job done. So get it off your plate right at the beginning. The next thing I do is I look at all the simple little tasks that can be done in a matter of minutes. Checking my email, checking the status of orders I have, whatever, those kind of things. I get those out of the way, and I check these off my list. And checking things off my list, I find actually creates a sense of more time, because you see what you've done and it motivates you to move on to the next task that you need to get done. I get most of the things I need to do in a day, with the exception of those things that may have a time-sensitive scheduled time to them. done within the first couple of hours of my day. Now, we go back to what I said. We took 8 hours off the 24-hour day for sleeping. We took 4 hours off for meals and getting yourself cleaned up and everything in the morning. That left us with 12 hours. And now I'm saying most of my tasks are done within the first 2 to 3 hours of the morning. So there's 3 hours gone in my day. So out of that 12, that still leaves me 9 whole hours to do what I want to do, other things. And I can get a lot accomplished in that time period. Now, when you do this kind of listing and you find you have all this extra time, there is a tendency to waste that time, to putter about, not really accomplishing anything. So even though I'm like a squirrel when I start my day, because things can divert my attention very easily, I try to keep on track and save those things for puttering time. Time that is freed up because I got everything else done. So I can afford to relax a little bit and do whatever I want to do. Now, sometimes that involves searching the internet for a new product or something that I've been wondering about or information. Sometimes it boils down to rotting in front of the boob tube, you know, and watching some silly show or whatever. That is downtime, but I don't feel guilty about it because I had time to do it, because it was built into my day. Now, the other thing too about puttering is you need to set yourself up, well, I do anyways, another list. A list of things that I want to explore. These are not top priority things. I don't let them interfere with the main things I want to do in the day. But when I find this extra time that I have, that's when I will go about doing those kind of things. And that's essentially how I find that I have all the time in the world to get done what I want to do. Now, I know what you're going to say. Yeah, but you're lucky. You're retired, so your time is your own. And that is very true. But even when I was working, and I had very busy days as a high school English teacher, believe me, I had lessons to prep, marking to be done, kids to teach, meetings to attend, a department to run. Yeah, it was a busy day. But even in the school system, I was able to maximize my time when I was working so I could come home at night with a minimal amount of homework. A lot of teachers I know would procrastinate. I mean, I hated marking. I absolutely hated marking. So I would develop little tricks where I could get a lot of my marking done during my day in spite of everything else I had to do. So I had less that I needed to take home. And by the last part of my career, I wasn't taking anything home to work on. So I had the evening was my time. Now, you might want to say, how did I do that? Well, there was a little bit of give and take on this. In order to do something like that, I would get up very early in the morning. Like, I'm talking very early. There were times, depending on which school I was working at the time and how far my commute was going to be, I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I would exercise for about 30, 40, 45 minutes. I had exercise equipment at home because there was no time for the gym. That ate into my time. I could do that at home. I mean, it takes a little self-discipline, but you can do it. And then I'd get ready for school. I'd get in my car and I'd be at school. Well, it used to be a bit of a joke. I would beat the custodians, and sometimes I'd have to stand outside the main doors of the school until they let me in. But I'd be there at 6. Yeah, or 6:30. Now, school didn't start until, well, my last school, until about 8:30 in the morning. But I would get in 2 solid hours of alone time that I could use for whatever I needed to get done that day. I could get some marking done in that time. I could get things ready for the classes and all that kind of thing. I could answer my emails that were, related to my job and everything like that and get that all done. I didn't lounge around at lunchtime. Now, Teachers don't get a long lunchtime because we part of our lunchtime is devoted to supervision of the kiddies while they're eating. So I would I could eat relatively fast. It didn't linger over my lunch, and I would use some of that time to again do those things I needed to do for my job. Usually you had a prep period every day, one period off. Well, it was very tempting to sit around, drink coffee, and talk to some of the other teachers, that kind of thing. And I did do that some days, because some days you just felt like doing that. But most of the time, I'd use that time for marking as well. I'd also design things for my students where they would be working independently with, just my help when they needed it or that kind of thing. But there was some downtime during class time too when I could do other things like mark. I keep coming back to marking because I hate at marking. And what I said earlier about putting those jobs up on your scale to get them out of your way, well, that's what I did with marking because I hate at marking. The one thing I do not miss now being a retired teacher is marking. I hated it. As an English teacher, we had a lot of it. Okay. Essays were the bane of my existence, and there were tons of those. But anyways, I digress. So I made very efficient time of my day and I got things done. And I just use that in my own personal life as well. So I really like the feeling at the end of my day of having accomplished something, that I didn't waste my time, that I actually created more time to do the things I wanted to do. And that's all because of the methods I've already spoken to you about. So yeah, the next time you think to yourself you don't have enough time in the day, reevaluate how you handle the time in your day. And I bet you if you put some serious thought into it and establish certain routines and certain procedures, you will find there is more than enough time in a day to get everything you want to get done.